Hey guys, welcome back to the letter. This is TJ Gamer Girl signing on. So, last episode, we got the floor plans from Isabella, but personally, I think Marianne was a little bit mean to her. She probably meant well, but yeah, I don't know. There are just better ways to say what she did. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times, does not mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realized it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday. No fun, but at least this way I could definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have the feeling I'll need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. October 24th, Monday. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself and make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm saved from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor was just nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card, not only because of building management, but because of the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil, the elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security, and only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in their living room, just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea had been served, I continue to wait. At least silence is relaxing. But then there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was. Although I'm normally not this nosy. Continue waiting. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else, after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are for allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't give two shits about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping about and be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off to investigate whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm just going to sit here and wait for Miss Wright. With my tea. In complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard me.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera, the LBC News would be fine. The William Walker show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does. The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then. Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the crash a while ago then? Whatever. Fetching the remote, I turned the TV on in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to, anyway, because the thing won't turn on. And doesn't that make the silence more awkward or what? I might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
Oh, lovely. What? There's blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. And though there's nothing staining my skin, I can feel the sticky and warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft lips with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, to plant my lips on her neck, and to run my fingers through her hair. She laughs and smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant, and I recoil, horrified at the reflection I'm seeing. Only to look back into something, or rather, someone. Miss Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips and hand on her hip. I almost back away, but I ground and remind myself that this is my client. And whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that perhaps I'm going a bit daft. It would be preferable, of course, to think that it was all the trick of the light or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day. Johans is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
Looking down at my hands, I could see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks so much like her, I'm becoming a damn train wreck. I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Miss Wright at the mansion. With so many blondes in the world, what was different with her? What was different this time? Best we don't worry her.
I just remembered something, that's all. It's nothing to worry about.
Are you sure? I am all ears if there is something bothering you. I don't mind a good story, and I don't want it to affect your work performance.
Gossipy wagon, isn't she? She should just leave you alone. It's not like you need her.
You don't have to worry about that, Mrs. Wright. I say business stays business, and anything else can stay in the doghouse until I'm done with work.
I just have to bear through it, don't I? If I tell her I'm hearing voices, that'd be a fast track straight to the nut house. What else can I do? Saint Dymphna help me lest I become like her father Damon, insane at the thought of a lost love and mad in the pursuit of another.
Shall we talk about your work then?
If you'd like. It's on your time, after all.
I've been told many good things about you, and I've seen some of your work before. Others speak very highly of your work etiquette. Yet I've never heard of you before. Not even a whisper of the McCullough name.
Well, I've only been in Luxbourne for 4 years. Tried to make it big in London for nearly 3 years before. And I've only been working these high-quality projects for the past year.
I stick straight to the point. It's best to be brief when talking to clients, after all. Keep it clean-cut as much as possible. Yet, at the same time, I have to make it engaging so it doesn't look like I don't want to talk to them.
I imagine it hasn't been easy. I can't see why you've moved from London to Luxbourne, though.
Job vacancies were fewer at the time, and I had a lot of competition in London. Let's not even talk about the living costs there. But I'm glad I moved here, even if it hadn't been smooth sailing. If I had it easy, I probably wouldn't be working projects like these.
Why even bother explaining to her? She won't understand. She's practically born with a silver spoon in her mouth. The woman could probably snap her fingers and have servants attending to her beck and call.
She does look the part of a spoiled heiress, doesn't she? It would be a relief if she's just that. Something that's different from Miss Wright and her. Before she can get another word in, words that may have proven me wrong or right, she looks up at the loft with a fond expression on her face. With just a simple glimpse she could put in so much love that I feel a tad bit jealous of whoever holds it.
Good morning, Luke, darling.
Good morning, ladies. What a wonderful morning it is that I wake up to such a beautiful sight. I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With his saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think, you are a bit of a pig, Whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
The only styles she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going to go ahead and feast.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
There is no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sets of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past do not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I'd have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright says so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Well, okay, she's getting an office, theater, vineyard, stables. And she's only asking for one thing, it sounds like. Just one thing. If anything, like, she's getting the short end of the stick. Yeah, it sounds fair. Don't care. Trying not to... Whatever. Jeez, we're almost full with Hannah. Mrs. Wright has her points, though I really didn't want to butt into the spat of a husband and wife. But with the way the two were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep to the facts instead of giving opinion.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible, and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough cost of these things by now, love. Masters in Business Administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Luxborn U, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Hey. Riding to Ermengarde Mansion in their Wrights is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other anytime. Nobody is saying anything. Up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. For a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I have never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride. And I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand. I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
All right, Johans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday I'd like to ask how Johann can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer. And the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least I'll only be working with them during the duration of this project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that's far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There were no obvious marks of damage nor wear and tear, possibly rethreaded during the renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand. Again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them. There is a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone are to see them like this, there's little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he should be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with Whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Let's do the first floor first. I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know that it's just a convenient excuse. I don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well just go upstairs first. Alright, I'm gonna end the episode here. We'll continue this in the next one. Till then, this is the Gamer Girl, signing off. Bye-bye.